You are all welcome for today's release or dissemination of our two outputs for that day. We're going to be having a release or dissemination of the consumer price index, call it inflation of the consumables. And we're also going to have a release of the construction input price index. Those are the two releases that we are going to have today. And I wish to hold it for just 5 minutes. And at exactly that time, after 5 minutes, we are going to be starting the session. So we can take our positions, we can set up the cameras, we can get our notebooks, and then we'll be ready to start in the next 5 minutes. I thank you. Once again, a good morning. You're welcome again for this session. We wish, because of the interest of time, wish to begin off. Because we're supposed to start at 11 and we are a few minutes late. Yet we want to begin 11, then cut it off by midday, and then everyone goes back to their jurisdictions. So allow me at this moment welcome Juliet Nakayenga, Miss, a principal statistician with the Uganda Bureau of Statistics, to come and give us details of the findings from the Consumer Price Index or inflation for the month and year ending November 2025. Madam Julie, you're welcome to take over.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good to have you on board. And our usual journalists, thank you for coming. So today we are here for the CPI press release for the month of November 2025. My name is Juliet Nakayenga, a principal statistician at Uganda Bureau of Statistics. So you're all most welcome to this press release. Ladies and gentlemen, the annual headline inflation for Uganda for November 2025 was recorded at 3.1%. I want us to look at that figure clearly because it is our headline for the month of November. So that means on an annual basis, comparing the November of this year and the November of last year, 2024, we had prices increase by 3.1%. But when we compare this figure to October 2025, that is last month, the headline inflation was recorded at 3.4%. So this shows that there's been a slowdown in the price increases. So their prices are still going up, but at a lower rate. Looking at the CPI weight composition, such that when we look at the influencers, you know what takes the lion's share. That's the weight composition. We have core inflation taking up the lion's share. Core inflation takes up, in core we get all the items that we include in the CPI and exclude food crops and also exclude EFU, or what we call energy fuels, and utilities. So that's what we exclude. And the reason we exclude them is the rate of volatility. They are highly volatile, so we exclude them such that we give a true, an underlying picture of what the inflation is. So that's how it is, and core takes up the lion's share of 84%. Like you can see there. So that is the breakdown of the subdivisions of the headline. So the influencers of the headline for the month of November was annual core inflation. So like I told you, it takes up the lion's share. So the annual core inflation for November 2025 was recorded at 3.2%. for the month of November 2025 compared to the 3.4% that was recorded in October 2025. So the drivers of core inflation, under core inflation, we have two main categories, the services and the core goods. So core goods, we have goods that have some value addition on them, and other goods like you'll be seeing. So annual services inflation for the month of November 2025 was recorded at 4.2% compared to 4.5% that was recorded in October 2025. Then when we look at the annual core goods inflation, they were recorded at 2.4% for the month of November 2025, compared to the 2.6% that was recorded in October 2025. So looking at the annual core goods inflation, we have things like maize flour. Maize flour is part of core inflation. And maize flour prices changed. We are seeing in November a 7.8% for maize flour, while in October 2025, we saw a 13.2%. Then when it comes to sugar, sugar prices in November were recorded at 4.4% compared to the 8.9% that was recorded in October 2025. Let's go to the beef, which is also still part of core inflation. Beef in November 2025 was recorded at 10.6% compared to October 2025, where we recorded 11.6%. All these figures show that prices both for October and November are still higher than they were in 2024. Then when it comes to fresh tilapia, which is also still part of core goods, in November 2025, we recorded the fresh tilapia prices to have increased by 4.5% compared to October, where they were recorded at 9.7%. So we talked about the core goods under the core inflation. So the other category of the core services. So under core, we have the services. So in these services, the influence as we go to passenger transport by air inflation. So there has been, for November, we recorded it at minus 2.0% compared to the minus 1.1% that was recorded in October. So for these 2 months, we have seen, whenever you see a minus, that means whatever we are comparing it to, it means this current price is lower than what we are comparing it to. So we are in annual, we are comparing to the same period last year. So that means the prices we've had for November under air, transport by air, have been lower, and we have recorded lower by minus 2%. So air transport has been cheaper for Ugandans this month, much cheaper. So when we look at restaurants, cafes, and the like inflation, people who go to restaurants for meals, we've seen the inflation was recorded at 5.8% in November 2025 compared to the 5.9% that was recorded in October. Now, we are done with the core category. Now we are looking at the food crops and related items inflation. And these are normally highly volatile because we know they are basically under the weather really influences it. So we have seasonality in here, so they are really highly volatile. So we always exclude them and monitor them separately. So for the annual food crops and related items inflation, we recorded 4.0% for November 2025 compared to the 6.1% that we recorded in October 2025. So let's look at the drivers. We all know and see these tomatoes on the market. So for the tomatoes, for the month of November 2025, we recorded them at 8.0% compared to the 18.8%. So for this month of November, tomatoes have increased by 8% compared to November last year. Yet for last month, tomatoes had increased, the month of October, tomatoes had increased by 18.8%. That means prices are still higher than they were last year, but this month they've come down a bit. So this month we are seeing a a slowdown in their increment. There are still increases, but it's a slowdown. If you're driving your car at 80%, 80 kilometers per hour, and later on you come to 60, it doesn't mean you have stopped moving. You're still going ahead, but it's the speed that has what? Come down in this case. So when you look at matoke, price changes, matoke for November was recorded at 8.1%, while compared to the 14.6% that we recorded for October 2025. We have things like mangoes. We've all seen they've come on the market. So we are seeing a minus 2.2% for November compared to the 14.8% that we recorded in October. So people who enjoyed mangoes in November this year have enjoyed them at a lower price than they were last year, the same period of November, because we are noting a minus 2.2% in November 2025. Sweet potatoes were recorded at 12.9% in November 2025 compared to the 18.9% that was recorded in October 2025. Still a continuation of these drivers. We have papaya. For those that enjoy them, we recorded them at minus 11.8% for in November 2025 compared to the 7.2% that was recorded in October 2025. We have fresh beans. I think people who are very observant, you've noted that the fresh beans are on the market. This is what we call the early season. Early season of what? Of beans coming in. So at the moment, they are being enjoyed as fresh. So it's early season of the beans, and we are seeing a minus 9.2% in November compared to the 0.7% that we recorded in October 2025. Round onions. Round onions for the ladies who buy, and even some gentlemen, we are seeing a minus 8.2% in November 2025 compared to a minus 4.5% that was recorded in October 2025. So that means this month we have enjoyed onions at a cheaper price than they were last year. I don't know if it is beneficial to the farmers, but that's what we have done. The same applies to last month, where we recorded a minus 4.5%. So that is it for the food crops and related items. So I want to talk about the other remaining category of energy fuels and utilities. So under the energy fuels and utilities, we recorded them at 0.6% for the month of November 2025 compared to the 0.1% that was recorded in October 2025. So we are seeing an increment in the speed at which they are going up from 0.1 to 0.6. That means EFU, or the energy fuel and utilities category, is shooting up. So the influencers, we're looking at firewood. Firewood prices were recorded at 1.2% in November 2025 compared to the minus 3.2% that was recorded in October 2025. So diesel prices also were recorded at 0.2% in November 2025 compared to the minus 1.0 that was recorded in October 2025. So looking at petrol prices also for the month of November 2025, we recorded a minus 0.4% for petrol compared to a minus 0.2% that was recorded in October 2025. So in summary, that's what I've been talking about. You can all look at them. So that is the summary of what I've been talking about. The main categories, the headline, core, and then other categories within. So that's how they have moved. So we are seeing in November 2025, we had the headline inflation at 3.1 and 3.4 for October, and then core at 3.2% compared to the 3.4%. still looking at the trends, how the overall CPI has been from October 2024 to date. We are seeing prices, the inflation going up and then coming down a bit. So for 2025 so far, when you're analyzing the trends, for 2025, from January 2025, the highest we have hit is 4.0, and the lowest we've hit from January is 3.1, which is for this month of November. I hope we have all seen that. So annual changes in the consumer price indices according to COICOP divisions. COICOP is the classification we use for classifying all the products we have in the CPI. And this is an international classification. And whatever we put under is the same that other countries use. So when we are talking about COICOP classification across the board, everybody will understand internationally. So according to the divisions, all the items we use as categorized in these 13 divisions, and that's how they have moved. For example, food crops, food and non-alcoholic beverages are in division 1, where we saw them coming down a bit to 2.9 from 4.2. Then let me also talk about this category of alcoholic beverages, tobacco and narcotics. We're seeing them increasing to 1.6 compared to 1.2. So we are seeing food coming down, but alcohol is the category of alcoholic beverages and narcotics. So you can analyze it further according to the different breakdowns. So ladies and gentlemen, that was the annual effect. We're talking about the long-term impact, the year impact, what happened when we are comparing currently and a year ago. So now I want to bring the short term such that we know what is happening to the inflation on a short term, comparing this month and last month. So on a monthly basis, the headline inflation was recorded at minus 0.1% compared to the 0.0 that was recorded in October 2025. So that means in total, or what the Mswahili would say kwa ujumla, everything together, there's been a reduction in prices when you compare what people bought in October 2025 and what people bought the same items in November 2025. There's been a reduction in price of 0.1 in a month, in a space of a month. So the main drivers for this was the food crops and related items inflation. So the food crops were recorded at minus 0.9% compared to the minus 0.2% that was recorded in October 2025. So the drivers, to give you more insight about the food crops, we are looking at the mangoes that decreased by 12.2% compared to the 5.0% rise. People who are buying mangoes last month bought at an increment of 5%, but this month, when you're comparing, if you bought the same mango last month and you're comparing that same mango, you're seeing a reduction in price with the same quantity of mangoes that they gave you. So if you used some price, this time they will even give you some change for the same amount of mangoes. Same applies to onions. We are seeing a reduction of 8% in price, a reduction of 8% in price when you're comparing November and October, compared to the 1.3% that was recorded in October. Then also tomatoes decreased by 4.2% compared to minus 10.9%. So mangoes became cheaper in October tomatoes, again they reduced further when it came to November. Then sweet potatoes, we recorded them at minus 4.4. That means there was a reduction of 4.4 in the price, comparing these neighboring months of October and November, compared to the minus 2.2% that was recorded in October. Still talking about core inflation, we said core, we have removed the energy, fuels and utilities, and also food crops. Excluding them, whatever remains, we call it core. So that core inflation this time around for the month of November was recorded at 0.0, compared to October, which was also still 0.0. Under core, in general, there was no price increment. And the drivers here, we say when looking at the service inflation, which is part of core, we note that in November we recorded 0.0, while in October we recorded 0.2. And then when it comes to the core goods inflation, still in November we recorded 0.0, compared to the minus 0.2 that we recorded in October 2025. So looking at the service inflation, why we got that 0% still under core. So looking at, it is 0, we are showing no price change in a month's time, but inside there are some items that are going up, others are coming down. So that force of up and down comes to a stability when you put them together, and we got a 0.0. So some drivers, when we show you some insight, we'll see the taxi short distance fares. The price has increased by 0.7% compared to the 1.0%, while still in transport, we see another increment in November for the long distance, that's over 100 kilometers, of 0.9% compared to the drop that we got of 0.4 in October. Then restaurants and accommodation services, we noted an increment of 0.1% compared to the 0.3% that was recorded in October. And then looking at domestic flights, now we see them dropping by minus 1.7% compared to another drop that we recorded in October of 1.3%. So internally, there are some items that are going up, others going down, and then overall, we got a 0.0% for the monthly. So monthly core goods inflation drivers. So under core goods, still, even if overall we saw a 0, look at the prices. We see rice recording 1.1% increment compared to the minus 0.9%. Cassava flour increasing by 2.9, while in October it dropped by 1.9. Soap, the laundry soap, we see it increasing by 0.4% compared to the increase of 0.3 that was recorded in October. While in the same basket of things, we see fish and other related items dropping by 4.0% compared to the 0.1%. Then looking at the sugar prices, we are seeing them also dropping. Comparing them to October last year, seeing them dropping by 1.9% compared to the 0.3% that was recorded in October 2025. So EFU was recorded at minus 0.2% in November 2025 compared to the 0.2% for 2025. That is on a monthly basis. And the drivers on this short-term period, we have charcoal prices dropping by 1.1% in November compared to a rise of 0.8% that we got in October. We have petrol prices are still dropping further. So this month, petrol prices have dropped by 0.3% compared to the earlier drop in October of 0.4%. Diesel prices, the same thing. They've, again, in this month of November, dropped by 0.6% compared to the 0.6% drop that we saw in October 2025. So on a monthly basis, that is how the headline inflation has been faring. Like we can see, on a short-term basis, overall, prices don't change that much on a short-term basis, on a monthly basis. So in November, like I've said, we had that, and then that is the summary. Then again, looking at monthly national average retail prices, still on a monthly basis. On a monthly basis of a few selected items. So we normally select for you a few items. Looking at tomatoes, a kilo of tomatoes in this November 2025 was recorded at 2,403, while last month it was 2,532. The same kilo of rice, of tomatoes. Onions, a kilo, we can see this month is 3,664, while last month it was 3,949. I hope we are seeing that. So compared to last year the price of a kilo of onions was 3,797. So we can see the different varieties. Now look at rice. Well, when you're looking at rice, last year in November, a kilo of rice on average was 4,570. And on average today in November, this November, you're seeing it at 4,846. So we can see then on a short term, on average, it has increased slightly from 4,809. So we can compare and see what is happening. But still, you can throw another picture on petrol down the second last item. Petrol, last year in November, on average, a liter of petrol was 5,074. This year in November, a liter of petrol is 5,048. So we are seeing a reduction, a slight reduction in price, even if it's over a year ago. So you can later look at them. So we normally tell you about how the inflation is moving in the various regions that we work with. So we don't only collect in Kampala, we collect across the country. So talking about the annual headline inflation by the CPI Geographical Center, the highest inflation was recorded in Kampala high income. That was registered at 4.4% in November 2025 compared to the 4.9% that was recorded in October 2025. Then this was mainly driven by the personal care and social protection that was recorded at 3.2% compared to 2.4%. And in addition, the annual transport inflation for Kampala high income increased by 2.5% compared to the 2.2% that was recorded in October 2025. So ladies and gentlemen, Masaka had the second highest inflation at 4.2% for the month of November 2025 compared to the 4.1% that was recorded in October 2025. The influencers in Masaka were mainly clothing and footwear that was recorded at 5.3% compared to the 3.3% in October 2025. And in addition, transport as well, in general, increased to 3.4% compared to the 2.3% recorded in October 2025. The least inflation was recorded in Mbale City at 0.7% for the month of November compared to the 0.6%. This mainly was driven by the insurance and financial services that was recorded at 11.6 compared to 19.4%. that was registered in October, as well as the restaurants in Mbale and accommodation were the part of the drivers of the low inflation. And the restaurants in Mbale were recorded at 1.1% compared to the 2.0% that was recorded in October 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, the geographical representation of how the inflation is moving, I hope we can all see. The highest being Kampala High when you're looking at the bars. The blue is for October and the orange is for the current month of November. So the highest in November, which is the highest orange, was recorded for Kampala High at 4.4. And then the second being Masaka, wherever you can see it. It's there in the middle. The orange being 4.2. And the list, if you're very careful, you'll see the shortest bars are in Mbale. And it was recorded as 0.7 compared to the 0.6 in October. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you very much for listening to me. And the next release will be in the next release will be on 31st December 2025. Thank you. Next time, come again and we meet here on 31st December, inshallah. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Julie. And I guess with your vivid explanation, they have got it right as you purposed. Ladies and gentlemen, as I earlier mentioned, we are having two presentations and one is down. So we are going into the second one, which is the construction input price indices presentation. And this is going to be given unto us by Miss Irene Namugenze, your usual face, which is not about to change anyway. So Irene, I welcome you to give us the presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I welcome you to today's press release for Construction Input Price Index for the month of October 2025. Please take note, there is a 1 month lag from what has been presented earlier. My name is Irene Namgenze Msitwa. I'm a senior statistician in charge of construction statistics. This is going to be our overview. We are going to have the definition of the index, its structure, composition, uses, and then the findings. CP measures the average change in prices of inputs into the construction sector, such as materials, labor, and equipment hire-out charges. This is the structure of the index. We look at prices of materials that go into the construction of buildings, under which we monitor prices that go into the construction of residential buildings as well as construction of non-residential buildings. We also look at price changes in materials that go into the construction of civil engineering, where we monitor prices of inputs that go into the construction of roads and railways, as well as the construction of utility projects. The third division, we look at those that go into specialized construction activities, under which we monitor prices that go into the demolition and site preparation, electrical, plumbing, and other construction activities, and then the building completion and finishing. The major uses of the index: it is used to monitor the cost of construction sector inputs over time. It is also used as a deflator in the gross domestic product comparison for the sector. The index enables price escalation clause payments that are supposed to be calculated on large construction contracts that usually take over 18 months. It is an indicator of the growth rate in the construction sector. Let's go straight to the findings. We are going to look at the annual price changes. We are looking at a period of 12 months. We are looking at what happened in October 2024 compared to how the prices have been October 2025. On the annual basis, we are having our inflation at 0.3% for the year that ended October 2025, compared to a 0.4% increase that was registered for the year that ended September 2025. The main drivers of the index, the 0.3% increase that has been registered in the construction sector. We had construction of buildings having its price changes go up by 0.3% in October 2025, compared to a 0.4% increase that was registered in September 2025. Civil engineering works had its prices go up by 0.3% in October 2025, compared to the year that ended September 2025, that also registered a 0.4% increase. Under specialized construction activities, we had the index go up by 0.3% October 2025, compared for a 0.5% increase that was registered for the year that ended September 2025. This is what I've been trying to explain. Our annual index is at 0.3% for the year that ended October 2025, compared to a 0.4% that was registered for the year that ended September 2025, as you see on the line graph. We are seeing specialized activities having its prices go up. That is the purple. And then you are having the index as overall as red in the bars. The table has what I've been talking about. It is just to give you a more clear picture so that you take what I've been saying. The index is at 0.3% for the year that ended October 2025, and the year that ended September 2025 was 0.4%. There is an increase, however, at a slow pace. The materials that had their prices go up, you know, when we are looking at these materials, some have their prices go up as well as others having theirs go down. Specifically for this month, October 2025, we had sand prices go up by 1.7% for October 2025, compared to an increase that was registered of 2.3% for September 2025. You see there is an increase of 1.7%. However, the increase is now slowing down. Timber and coniferous greater than 6 millimeters thick, we had its prices also go up by 0.7% for October 2025, compared to a 0.8% increase that was registered for the month for the year that ended September 2025. Lime prices also had their prices go up by 5.5% in October 2025, compared to a 8.1% increase that was registered for the year that ended September 2025. On another hand, we had some prices have their prices decline. We had adhesive, sealants, and waterproof, grout, and all the like in that category, had their price go down by minus 0.2% for the year that ended October 2025, compared to a 0.4% increase that was earlier released for September 2025. Plastic pipes and fittings had their prices go down by minus 0.3% for the year that ended October 2025, compared to a 0.1% increase that was registered for the year that ended September 2025. On a short period, a monthly period, we are looking at what happened in September 2025 versus what happened in October 2025, just a period of 1 month. On a short notice, on a short period, we had the inflation of the construction sector decrease by 0.2% for the month of October 2025, compared to a no change that was registered for September 2025. The main contributors of that decline, we had specialized construction activities taking lead with a decrease of 0.3% in October 2025, compared to a no change that was registered for September 2025. Construction of buildings, materials that go into the construction of buildings, had their prices go down by minus 0.1% in October 2025, compared to a stable rate that was registered for September 2025. Civil engineering works, also materials that go into that section, had their prices decline by 0.2% in October 2025, compared to the same rate that was registered for September 2025. This is a line graph showing what I've been saying. We are seeing specialized activities pulling the monthly index down to the negatives. The same table, this table shows what I've been talking about. We are having the index on a monthly basis at 0.2% October 2025, compared to stable rate that was registered for September 2025. We are having specialized construction activities taking lead by 0.3%, compared to a no change that was registered in September 2025. These are the materials that had notable decreases in their prices. On a monthly basis, we had sand decreasing by 0.5%, compared to a 1% increase that was registered for September 2025. Clays and marram also had their prices go down by minus 1.2% in October 2025, compared to a stable rate that was registered for September 2025 for that material. Clay bricks and tiles also had their prices go down by 0.9%, compared to an increase of 0.1% that was registered for the same material for September 2025. Though we had the prices go down on a monthly basis, we had some materials have their prices go down in the short period. Paints and varnishes had their prices go up by 0.4% for October 2025, compared to a decline of 0.2% that was registered for September 2025. We also had prices of labor increase on a monthly basis. They increased by 0.4% in October 2025, compared to a 0.1% decrease that was registered for September 2025. Specifically, we had wage rates increased for unskilled laborer, as you see in the picture, and grade 1 plumber, as well as grade 1 welder. Thank you so much for listening to me. Merry Christmas. We meet again on 31st December 2025, same time.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Musitwa, for that elaborate and precise, concise presentation. I'll request that we share the presentations with the people around so they can do a quick digest of the same as the panelists take their front seats. I'll ask the principal to lead the team and take up the hot seat as we prepare to get reactions from the people. Let us share the presentations. digest them a little, and then let us have the questions or any clarification will be made by this team, which is more than able to respond and handle any question related to what they have presented. Because sometimes we get questions which are a little stray, but if at all we keep it within what they have presented, then it will give them a clear path of response. So, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you to the plenary, where we'll get your reactions, supplements, compliments, deplements towards what has just been presented. We had a presentation of CPI by Miss Juliet Nakayenga, and then CP by Miss Irene Namugenzi. Then before you is Mr. Magoma, and also Bwana Chris, who are also very, very deliberately seated there to respond because they have the know of the topics discussed. Anyone with a ready question? Or it has been so clear and perfect that no clarity or clarification is sought? Yeah. Martin, any question as yet? Let's get a question from Martin Luther Okech, my brother from another mother, who works with the Daily Monitor.
Okay. Just some three questions. Irene, when I looked at what you were analyzing there, I saw something in insurance and education. It was a bit, insurance went up to around 16, and then also education was, I think, from 7 to 10, something like that. That table, there is a table that you presented, a deep table. Just hold on, Anna. Okay, I just want to show that table. How is it? Okay, I've seen it. That is page 4. At page 4, are you seeing it? You are seeing the insurance. You had 16 point and 10.1. I was just giving just as a reference. There was a bit of spike there compared to the other items. Then you also have something in education, which is almost the same, 7.6, 7.6. You're seeing it. And that's why I'm referring to you that what happened in between there. Why was it a little higher compared to the rest of the other items? Then you will just give a short overview. We are counting from January to November. That is 11 months. What really contributed to a low inflation over these 11 months?
Which other hand was there? Then I'll ask the panel to address Martin's concern, as others think it wise to ask.
Thank you very much, Martin, from the Daily Monitor. You're looking at the education services and also insurance and financial services. Under insurance and financial services, like you see, it is insurance and other financial services like mobile money, the banking fees that we get. So it's a combination. And they change. And in most cases, they change at a higher percentage. So that's why you're seeing a 10.1% in November and a 16.3%. So this has been a slowdown from 16.3 to 10.1. So I don't know, you wanted to know whether your voice had gone a bit low. Yes. Hearing, yes.
When you look at it, although it has come down, but when you look at the whole arrangement here, the ones with the higher figure. Did you get?
Okay.
Yeah.
So in general, you're looking at them in general. They have a high. The good thing, you have the page 4. Can you look at page 4 clearly where you are? Look, they are high, but are you seeing the first column called weight? Are you looking at the weight? So that financial insurance and financial services has a weight of 22.79 out of 1,000. Then these ones that you think are small, look at food and non-alcoholic. This one has 22. Food and non-alcoholic has 270. So even if it is a small increment, the impact might be bigger the other side. Here, the insurance, it's just a small component. So even if it is big, in general, it will not be, the impact will not be too much. So that's why they don't come out boldly. It's because of the weight that they have. Again, when you ask people in their families how they spend on insurance and how they spend on other financial services compared to other services like transport, food, you will see that this is always on the minimal. Yeah. So the influence comes out, but on a smaller rate. Even if it is high, it will not influence. It might influence, but not to a higher extent. I hope we are together with that. Again, the second question was, you analyzed the trends, and you are asking why we are having the lowest for this year in this month. So many factors have come to play. There's been a slowdown in core, at the same time slowdown in the food crops. And you see it is a season, it's harvesting. You've seen the beans on the market, tomatoes have come on the market. So many things are on the market now due to the seasonality effect coming in. So many factors. I hope you are okay with that. Over there? Yes. You want the picture for the entire year. We are going to give you that picture with December. Come 31st December. We shall be here. We shall, in most cases, when the calendar year is ending and also the financial year in July, we normally give you one figure for the year and also compare it with the other year. So we can't compare it when it is still halfway. It's almost there, but we shall get that final figure next month on 31st December. Hope to see you here. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for explaining it to the understanding of Martin. You know, if Atoy is not content, he keeps on asking. But if Atoy see him relaxing, just know he's understood. Any other question? If to the contrary, I would like to say thank you, Tim, and well done. We are,
Good afternoon. I would like to find out what is the percentage for the increase or decrease from last month to this month?
In regards to?
In general, because you've given us the general from last month to, but if I had to, I would have said 0.3, but I want you to be the one to give it to me. Like, I don't want to assume from last month to this month. What is the percentage of the? I'm saying from last month to this month. what is the percentage of the increase or decrease that we have realized in inflation for both construction and the other one?
Thank you very much. Last month, same year. Okay. When we are talking about the same year, that is what we call the monthly inflation. So same year for the monthly inflation was recorded at minus 0.1. That means the prices reduced by 0.1%. When you compare the same items last month and this month, there was a reduction in price of 0.1%. Thank you very much for asking.
Thank you. The very last one, if it's there. Martin still has something.
Maybe in the area of the specialized, in the construction, I saw some movement in the specialized services. Or you refer them as specialized. Specialized, in the specialized area of your presentation, specialized area had some ups, meaning it was increasing.
On a monthly basis, on your basis?
It is even on the monthly basis. Yes.
We had specialized construction activities decreasing at 0.2%, 0.3%, compared to a stable rate that was registered for last month. What caused it? The decrease, the materials that go into the division had their prices go down. Yes.
I think that is it with the questions about CP and CPI in English. Kakano munzikirize nyanize omukulu Magoma Godfrey atuwe byetuva okuwulira mu Luzungu nga bitapuse mu Luganda. So omukulu Magoma tukwaniriza otuwe ekifaananyi ky'ebyo nga bwe bibadde mu Luganda.
Are we set to go? Magoma Godfrey, Yerinya, Kolanga Senior Statistician, Uganda Bureau of Statistics. Ngenda kubawa mbufunze bye tujje okunoonyereza kwaffe okw'omwezi guno gwe tumalako ogw'Okumi omwaka 2025 nga tubawa emiwendo nga bwe giyimiridde wano mu Uganda. Abo tunuulira ku bbanga ery'emyezi 12 kati kitwale nga annual mu Luzungu, emiwendo giri ku bitundu 3 n'akatundu kamu. Bw'obigeraageranya bwe byali mu mwezi ogw'Ekkumi bwe byali ku bitundu 3 n'obutundu 4. Ng'abo tubawa ku bibinja bye tulinamu ebikola ekibinja kino ekinene kye tuyita headline. Tulinamu ebibinja 3, mulimu kowa, mulimu ekibinja ky'emmere, ate ne mubeeramu n'ekibinja eky'amazzi, amafuta n'amasannyalaze. Bwe tunuulira ku kowa, omwezi guno gwe-11 ekibinja kino kiri ku bitundu 3 n'obutundu 2, bw'okigeraageranya bwe kyali ku bitundu 3 n'obutundu 4. Bwe tunuulira ku bibinja ebivaamu ate ekibinja kino kye tuyita kowa, mulimu ebibinja 2. Tulina ekibinja eky'ebyempeereza ze tuyita services mu Luzungu, ate ne tubeera n'ekibinja kya kowa goods. Bwe tunuulira ku kibinja kya mpeereza oba services, kati kiri ku bitundu 4 n'obutundu 2, bw'okigeraageranya bwe kyali ku bitundu 4 n'obutundu 5 mu mwezi ogw'Ekkumi. Ate ekibinja kya kowa kiri ku bitundu 2 n'obutundu 4, bw'okigeraganya bukyali ku bitundu 2.6. Bwe tunuulira ku bibinja bino kiki ekyalese enkyukakyuka gye mbasomedde nga tunulidde ku anyokowa oba ekibinja kya kowa, tutunulidde ebintu ng'akawunga kakasooli kali kati ku bitundu 7.8 okuva bwe kaali ku bitundu 13.2. Sukaali ali ku bitundu 4.4 okuva bwe yali ku bitundu 8.9 mu mwezi ogw'ekkumi. Ennyama ey'ente eri ku bitundu 10.6 okuva bwe yali ku bitundu 11.6. Ebyennyanja twalira ddala talapia ali kati ku bitundu 4.5 okuva bwe yali ku bitundu 9.7. Bwe tunulira ku kibinja ky'empeereza ze tuyise services, twakisanze nti entambula ey'omu bbanga yasse n'ebitundu 2 mu mwezi guno ogw'ekkumi okuva bwe yali yasse n'ekitundu 1.1 mu mwezi ogw'ekkumi. Ate era n'ebyempeereza mu bifo birirwamu emmere katuziyite restaurants kati ziri ku bitundu 5.8 okuva bwe byali ku bitundu 5.9. Bwe tunulira ekibinja ekyokusatu ky'ekibinja ky'emmere kiri ku bitundu 4 mu mwezi guno ogw'ekkumi bw'okigeraageranya bwe kyali ku bitundu 6.1 mu mwezi ogw'ekkumi. Nga tuggyeeyo ebintu ebisinze okuleeta enkyukakyuka gye basomedde nga mwe muli emiwendo gy'ennyaanya egyakyuse n'ebitundu 8 okuva ku bitundu 18.8, amatooke gakyuse n'ebitundu 8.1 okuva bwe gaali ku bitundu 14.6, emiyembe gyo gyeyongedde okukka n'ebitundu 2.2 okuva bwe byali ku bitundu 14.8, ate ne lumonde gwe bandiyise omuganda naye ali ku bitundu 12.9 okuva bwe yali ku bitundu 18.9. Amapaapaali gasse n'ebitundu 11.8 mwezi guno ogw'ekkumi kuva bwe gaali ku bitundu 7.2. Ebijanjaalo ebibisi byasse n'ebitundu 9.2 kuva byali ku bitundu 7 mwezi ogw'ekkumi. Obutungulu bwasse n'ebitundu 8.2 kuva bwali busse n'ebitundu 4.5. Ebyo bye bisinze okuva mu kibinja ky'emmere. Kati tunulira ku kibinja ky'amazzi, amafuta n'amasannyalaze, kyo kiri mu mwezi guno ku bitundu 6 okuva bwe kyali katundu 1 mu mwezi ogw'ekkumi. Tuggyeeyo ebintu ebyasinze kuleeta enkyukakyuka eno nga tuggyeeyo enku ziri kati zaali nyina ekitundu 1.2 kuva bwe zaali zisse n'ebitundu 3.2. Amafuta aga diesel gaali nyina n'obutundu 2 kuva bwe gaali gasse n'ekitundu 1. Petro naye yasse n'obutundu 4 kuva bwe yali yasse n'ebitundu 2 mu mwezi ogw'ekkumi. Bwe tutunuulira ku bbanga ery'omwezi ogumu nga tugenda kuba tutunuulira omwezi guno gwe tumalako ogw'ekkumi n'omwezi ogw'ekkumi mu mwaka guno, emiwendo kati gisse n'akatundu 1 bw'okigeraageranya bwe gyali ku 0, gyali stable mu mwezi ogwaggwa ogw'ekkumi. Tusinze okuggyayo ekibinja ky'emmere nga kati kino kyasse n'obutundu 9 mu mwezi ogw'ekkumi bw'okigeraganya bwe kyali kisse n'obutundu 2 mu mwezi ogw'ekkumi. Tuggyeeyo ebintu nga emiyembe obutungulu, ennyaanya, lumonde, ebyo byonna byasse kusinziira ku bya twafunye mu mwezi guno ogw'e11. Bwe tunuulira ku kibinja ekya kowa nga tunuulira ebbanga ery'omwezi ogumu ogw'e11 n'omwezi ogw'e10 mwaka 2025, emyezi gino gyonna gisigadde ku 0, giri stable. Enkyukakyuka eyabadde munda naye ebintu ebyali mulimu ebyalinye ate ebirala ne bikka ne biriwa nga bituwa kiri ku 0. Nga tunuulira ku kibinja kya services mwezi ogw'e11 eri ku 0 bwekigeraganya bwe kyali ku 0.2 oba ku 0.2. Ate kowa naye ali ku 0 bwekigeraganya bwe yali asse n'obutundu 2 mu mwezi ogw'e10. Bwe tujjayo ebintu ebiri mu bibinja bino ekyempeereza services, tujjeeyo entambula ya takisi ez'eŋŋendo ennyimpi zaalinnye n'obutundu 7 okuva ku kitundu ekimu mu mwezi ogwaggwa. Ate baasi ezitambula eŋŋendo empanvu ziri ku bitundu 9 okuva bwe zaali zisse n'obutundu 4. Ate ebyempeereza naddala mu bifo ebirirwamu n'ebisulwamu biri ku katundu kimu kuva byali bizze ku bitundu 3 mu mwezi ogw'omwenda. Naye bwe tutunuulira ku ntambula ey'omu bbanga wano mu Uganda, katuziyite domestic, zasse, entambula eyo yasse n'ekitundu kimu n'obutundu 7 okuva byali bizisse n'ekitundu kimu n'obutundu 3. Bwe tunuulira ekibinja kya kowa goods, era tukizudde nti mulimu ebyalinye ate ebimu ne bikka ne kituwa 0 gye tufunye, nga muno twajjeeyo omuceere gwo gwalinnye, akawunga ka muwogo kaalinnye, sabbuuni ayoza naye yalinnye. Naye ne tujjayo ate ebyasse nga tumuliramu ebyennyanja byasse ne sukaali, emiwendo gya sukaali gyasse. Bwe tunuulira ku kibinja ky'amafuta, amazzi n'amasannyalaze nga tunuulidde ebbanga ly'omwezi ogumu, tusanze nti kibinja kino kyasse n'obutundu 2 okuva bwe kyali kirinnye n'obutundu 2 mu mwezi ogw'e10. Ebintu ebyasinze okukka tujjeeyo amanda nga gasse n'ekitundu kimu n'akatundu kamu kuva bwe byali ku butundu 8 mu mwezi ogw'e10. Amafuta ga petro gasse n'ebitundu 3 kuva bwe gaali gasse n'obutundu 4 mu mwezi ogw'e10. Ate n'amafuta aga diesel nago gasse n'obutundu 6 okuva bwe gaali gasse era n'obutundu 6 mu mwezi ogw'e10. Bwe tunuulira ku bibinja oba ebifo bye tujjamu emiwendo gino gye tubawa, ebifo bino biringa 8. Tunamu kati tunuulira Kampala High, kyekibinja kye twasanze nti kye kifo ekirina emiwendo egisinze okubeera waggulu nga ziri ku bitundu 4 n'obutundu 4 okuva bwe kyali ku bitundu 4 n'obutundu 9 mu mwezi ogw'e10. Nekuddako Masaka edirira Kampala High ng'eri ku bitundu 4 n'obutundu 2 kuva bwe yali ku bitundu 4 n'akatundu kamu. Ekifo kye twasanze kirimu emiwendo gitali mipalufu nnyo ekya wansiko kyekifo eky'Embale nga kiri ku butundu 7 kuva bwe kyali ku butundu 6 mu mwezi ogw'e10. Mu bufunze bino bisobodde okubawa, njagala kubeebaza olw'obugumiikiriza n'okubeera naffe, ate n'okubasaba nti tujja kuba tubawa ate bye tujje mu kunoonyereza nga tufundikira omwaka. Ku lunaku lujja kuba kwa 31 Desemba, lujja kuba lwa 3 ffe tujja kuba tuli wano kusaawa 5 tujja kuba tujje mu kunoonyereza mu mwezi guno gwe tugenda okutandika ate n'okumalako omwaka nga tubawa mu bufunze embeera nga bwe badde mu mwaka guno ogwa 2025.
Weebale nnyo mukulu Magoma olw'ebyo by'ogezezzaako okutaputa. Waba walina ekibuuzo kimu bibiri tube nga tumaliriza session eno, oba byonna bibadde bitegerekeka bulungi. Waba walina ekibuuzo kyali abadde mu Luganda, waba tewali then tukoze omulimu musufu tuyanziza bassebo ne bannyabo. Let us meet again on the 31st of December 2025. As earlier mentioned, it will be a Wednesday. So see you again on that very day, and thank you for coming.